Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your congressman, the third most popular candidate in all the land. Along with me today, well, I'm Frank, by the way. That's my name, Frank Kraft, Loaded Talk, yeah. Along with me today is...
What's up, Planet Earth? I'm Charlie.
Charlie. Frank and the Bean. I got one important question for you today, Charlie. Perhaps the most important question ever been asked ever. You got to do your fingers when it's important. Sometimes it goes. Are you ready for some football?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Today, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers go to Minnesota to fight the Purple People Eaters in the manic Minneapolis. No, I'm excited. I got my football stuff on. I didn't even do my hair because I was like, I'm going to put on a hat. I moved a TV out by my swimming pool. I'm going to sit in the pool and drink beer and watch football because it's America.
Damn, that's footballing right there.
Oh, that's it. I've never done that before because I don't have a TV outside. I just took that cruddy TV that's been kind of wedged up in here for a while. I'm like, I'll just drag it out there and plug it in. What's the worst that happens? It gets ruined. It's basically garbage. And I have no idea where to put it in here. And that was my original thought. I'd have it up here somewhere. We could have like news going or a monitor, you know. But it's too big and too old. I think I'd rather just put another monitor right there. Anyway, so that's it. So there's been some things popping up this week. Some more fun than others. I think the number one distraction for us all, although it seems like it is a way to distract us from all the horrible things that are actually going on, it is nonetheless hilarious. Some of y'all probably remember this from Barack Obama running for president back the first time. Some of y'all might not. But it's popped back up. You remember did we talk about his letters to his girlfriend?
No.
Oh, we didn't do that. And so, do you know about the letters to his girlfriend?
No.
Oh, Chari. Like, your case to Kelly is going to get stronger. So, it's not like his presidential, is it his presidential library? Some school, some university has like a Barack Obama archive, right? And people donated a bunch of stuff, including these letters, you can't take pictures of anything. You can't video it. You can't do anything. But you can go in and take notes. And so people went in to take notes a couple of times on this one particular letter that he wrote the girl he was dating at the time. He and this girl broke up. He said in his book they broke up because he wanted to embrace his blackness or something, and she wasn't down with that. Ends up, it was more about him not necessarily thinking that Israel had a reason to exist, and her being Jewish, saying, I'm not a big fan of the anti-Jewish perspective as a Jew. So that's her, so, like, his book says one thing. She's like, no, we went to this art gallery, and there's this whole thing that was about, I forget, about Israel or whatever, but like he started taking very Farrakhan-esque approaches were kind of the black man versus the Jew type thing, you know?
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, I mean, Reverend Wright's church and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of what they were into. So she says that's why they broke up. But he also wrote her a letter saying, I make love with men every night, but in my imagination. And he said it was something like a construct. He's like, I see, when I look at myself in the mirror, I see that I am a man, and I accept that as the construct or something like that. He's like, but I hope to soon not be able to see people as male or female, but just as other people to, I don't know, move beyond the constraints of, basically, he's just like, every day, he just said, every night I imagine having sex with men. Or every night I have sex with men in my imagination. Every night. In like college-ish age. Which, you know, all of us guys who are straight, every night, of course, think about banging dudes. And then you go, all right, well, maybe he's just trying to like pick up this girl and show like, yeah, he's open-minded. He's like one of these cool people. Like he's, you know, he doesn't fit the mold of typical society. But also, when you're trying to pick up that chick, typically they don't want you to want to have sex with men instead of them. Is a theory.
Fairly accurate.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever been able to impress girls by saying, I would love to bone dudes?
I didn't think that would work. So, no.
Never occurred to me to try that either. But well, it didn't work actually because he didn't end up marrying her. So it didn't work. They broke up. But yeah, so that letter's been floating about for the last like month or so, and so everyone's like, "That's weird," And then like the cook dies, and everyone's like, that cook, in addition to like dying in a pond, he's also a good-looking fella. Like he got hired away from the White House staff because that's where they met him. He was like not the head chef, but a chef. I forget which level. I don't know all the terms anyway.
Sous chef?
He wasn't that. I know that term. Yeah. I would remember that one.
It's the only one I know.
I know. Yes, chef. Have you watched The Bear?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Yes, chef. But nah, he was something. He was, I don't know, whatever. But when they were leaving, they're just like, "You want to be our personal chef?" And he was like, "Yes, I do," which is a smart business choice on his part. Until they murdered him. Possibly. But so yeah, of course, he's this strapping fella, a good-looking dude. And he gets to just stay up in Martha's Vineyard. And Obama's are like, "Oh, we're going to go about town or go to the beach or whatever." He's like, "I'll do a little windsurfing or kite." Oh, it was windsurfing? Something like that. And paddleboarding, maybe. One of those things. I think paddleboarding. And I guess he had a medical incident. And then he died and he drowned. Or he fell into the water and drowned in a small pond. Which is a little bit weird because I'm pretty sure the Clintons had a personal chef after they left office who drowned. So, I don't know. I mean, it's not like the Obamas had two, but there have been two. Anyway, so, good looking fellow. Like, so, yeah, had you listen to Tim Dillon? He's the crazy, like he's the fat dude that just rants like crazy. And just,
Yes.
Yeah, he's insane. I love him. And so he dedicated like almost 2 or 3 episodes just to talk about it. He's like, look, just let's say you get this like very hot chef and you want to just have maybe sex with your wife, who knows, maybe both. It's like, and then one day you go, "Hey, I want you to live your authentic life, Barry. Like, this isn't good, but, staying closeted. Like, you got to be yourself. And I think the only way to do it is I'm going to let everybody know who you are." And then you drown in 2 feet of water. Which, of course, he's a comedian and he's ranting. And that's not necessarily true. But, yeah, it's weird. Also, anyway. So all that kind of went around. It was sorry, I was watching you look for whatever the hell you're looking for.
Looking for the butt.
Oh, yeah. Well,
It's relatable to the topic.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But anyway, so we had the letter coming out where it's like, Barack Obama imagines gay sex like every night in his own words. Like, that's weird. And so then this guy who popped up when Obama ran for president the first time, this is not the first time this guy's popped up, but he shows back up on the scene, and Tucker Carlson's just like, "Screw, I'll interview you," because like he doesn't sell ads on it. Like the damages, like to sue Tucker, it's like what for the revenue who got there? Is there revenue? Like I think there's some sort of revenue share that X offers, but I don't know if Tucker Carlson's even taking advantage of that because he's still got Fox money. He's got that real money. So like, and I think it also, while he's pending possibly getting sued or is getting sued and countersuing all that kind of stuff with Fox, if he's not making money now, it's hard for them to say that he's competing and all that kind of stuff. So he can really build the base while getting paid by Fox. And then as soon as all that kind of period's done, it's like, let's bring in some ads and put it on probably more than just X. I'm getting used to X. I still say Twitter sometime, but I'm getting used to X. I like it. All right, all right, Johnny, let's roll the clip. This is a man that says that he got down. Oh, I got to put my headphone in. Got down with the dirty with old Barry. Okay. Got my thingy in. And roll the tape.
You're just a guy who's in town for the night, and it sounds like you're looking to party.
Yeah, pulled up in a bar outside, and there's this guy that's introduced to me as Barack Obama. I had given Barack $250 to pay for coke. I
is a
started
good amount of
putting a
coke.
line on a CD tray to snort, and next thing I know, he's got a little pipe and he's smoking. So I just started rubbing my hand along his thigh to see where it was going. And it went the direction I had intended it to go.
Even though you had sex with him twice, you did cocaine with him, watched him smoke crack twice, you had no idea who he was.
I had no idea who he was.
Let me just ask the obvious question. What was Obama like on crack? Is it your sense that that's who Obama is, just transactional, or that he's bisexual, or like what is this?
It definitely wasn't Barack's first time, and I would almost be willing to bet you it wasn't as long.
The guy's running for president, and credible information comes out that he's smoking crack and having sex with dudes. That seems like a story.
Well, it would be a story if the media really cared about telling people the truth.
So obviously he's got no evidence at all. But quite frankly, if you had a one night stand with somebody, you're probably not gonna have much evidence unless like you got VD or something, you know. And like, I'm just saying, like, it's like you're not gonna get a receipt for the cocaine. Like $250, that's a lot. That's a lot of coke they got for that night. You know?
It's like a 8-ball.
I would think it's more than that. I mean,
Oh yeah, back in the day, it's probably a little bit. Prices were a little better.
probably closer to 2.
Yeah.
What was that? What was it? An 8-ball's about 3.5 grams. So it'd be
Yeah.
a quarter ounce. That's a bigger story than smoking it. That's a lot of coke to go through in an evening. Just theoretically, I think that's what the measurements are. But one of my bugaboos about this is if he bought a quarter ounce or however much cocaine that he bought, right? Now I guess it's possible that he bought coke for the dude. Actually, you listened to the whole interview, right?
No, well, probably just that clip.
Oh, just that clip? Okay.
Yeah.
They have released like the 42-minute interview. But yeah, that's the only clip I've seen too. But unless like, so old Barry's in charge of the coke run. So I guess it's possible he gets powder coke and crack. It's possible. Or he was just freebasing, which is not smoking crack. It's freebasing cocaine like Richard Pryor. And so that's kind of one of my bugaboos. Like you saw him smoke crack or you saw him smoke coke because you put some coke out. He has a bag of coke. He puts it in a little pipe and he's going to freebase it. That's not crack. It doesn't really matter. It's just, I don't know, a little detail. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this fella?
I mean, it definitely looks like. I mean, judging a book by its cover, this dude's definitely done coke and smoked crack. So,
Yeah.
I mean, at least his side of it is credible.
Yeah, I definitely believe this man enjoys cocaine and gay sex. 100%. That he doesn't have to sell me on it. I believe him. I think he's got a fairly thorough rap sheet. So, you know, when you enjoy random cocaine-fueled sex romps, sometimes that means you get arrested for it. Different town, different day, different coke dealer. It just doesn't pay off. Kids don't do dope. Yeah, so it's hilarious. It's everywhere. I also feel like for it to be popping back up, like it could just be this guy wants to get paid, maybe get a book deal or something. Like with that letter popping up, he might just be like, "Hey, remember me? I was saying this, guys." You know, he could just be trying to capitalize.
Yeah.
But it's also a nice distraction for like everything going to crap. And so instead of focusing on that and any move the government is looking to do to kind of squash us down, it's like, no, look over here. Old Barry, he might be into dudes. Do you see the video of, it's probably an old one, but it was because he's voting, but it was a video of Obama voting at something, and there's like a chick next to him, and like her boyfriend walks through and it's like, better not touch her.
Yep.
And he's just like, this guy is trying to make me look like a fool. Stuff like that. It was actually pretty funny. He handled it well. He ended up like on his way out. He's like, come on, let's give him something to talk about here. Let's take a little picture and give her a kiss on the cheek. But I don't think Big Mike would have been down for that. What do you think of that stuff?
It's just comical to me. I can't really like formulate an opinion of here or there, but it's funny.
It's funny. It's also like most of the things that they show are like photoshopped, and there's like original versions that are out where it's like, yeah, I mean, anybody can do this.
Bulges, is that
Yeah, like bulges and like dancing on Ellen and all that kind of stuff. Like they have the originals, and it's just like we can do video editing. Like we can do it here. We don't even have to be sophisticated, you know. So you know, I do not. I'm gonna take a stance here. It's not a popular stance among people I've talked to recently. I believe Michelle Obama is a woe man. A woe man.
a whoa man.
Yes, I think. I think she birthed a couple kids, and she has a vagine.
I agree.
It's controversial. It's controversial, but I like it. Let me make sure I'm in the right order here. All right, so one of the things that they probably don't want people focusing on too much is something that we kind of ended or kind of occupied a good amount of time on towards the end of last week, which is everything's about to go to crap. And so there's this article from the Daily Caller here saying there's a huge warning sign that the housing market could be headed for trouble. And so in addition to all the stuff we touched on last week, and some of this kind of touches on both here, actually these bullet points do a good job of summarizing. Yeah, mortgage applications have reached their lowest level since 96, showing a fall in demand for new houses, while inventories have yet to recover since COVID-19, indicating a lack of supply. So COVID-19, people kind of stopped building stuff. And so that's not good as far as supply goes, but when you're really for pricing in the long run, that's not horrible. But the combination of low demand and low supply could spell trouble for the housing market. And here's a quote from an economist. When you go from record low mortgage rates to levels that we haven't seen for almost 20 years, you destroy both the demand and the supply. That's Muhammad Ali El Arian, an economist, blah, 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 for Alliance. I don't know what the hell that is. But yeah, the number of mortgage applications declined 2.9% the week ending September 1 compared to the week ended, bringing the lowest level since 1996. Supply of new homes also dropping. Inventories have remained below pre-pandemic levels, culminating in a drop in both supply and demand and indicating possible danger in the housing market. Let's see, of course, they're saying that the decline in mortgage applications reflects the reality that the income for many families cannot shoulder the mortgage payments of a new home, given the combination or the combined impact of sharply high mortgage rates combined with the surge in home prices. So all these prices have been going up now, and let's see, it says, let me scroll down here. Yep, things just falling. Where does it say the thing about the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage reached a 20-year peak in August and topped out at 7.23% before ticking down to 7.18. So right now the average mortgage is over 7%. And, you know, I know like my first savings account as a kid, I think was 6 or 8% or something like that. So I don't know, I'm sure mortgage rates were something back then. So it's not like we've never seen this stuff before. Or it's not something that we can handle. But the problem is all the pricing in the market right now is based on the artificial pricing of having 0% lending. So all the prices are based on like 0% rates. And now all the actual borrowing rates are close, 7%. And, I'm 2.99 right now, which I'm very happy to have. Because it's one of those things, like if someone handed me a check for the amount of my mortgage, I'd put it in a CD and just, make payments still. Because like at the end of the however many years I got left, I come out on top with that one, the number of unsold homes decreased 9.2%. So basically, what's happening here is houses aren't affordable based on how the prices have raised, and people are just not applying for mortgages because of it. So I'm sure we're going to see the rental market go up just like all these companies wanted. That's why all these corporations have been buying huge chunks of houses for above market price and sitting on it because this day was coming and they're going to charge rent. Honestly, I have a bit of a question about why having low supply and low demand is a bigger problem than having high supply and low demand.
I'm the same on that. Like, I don't really see the problem.
Yeah, because I mean that stabilizes things better. I mean, obviously, if you have high supply, we get 2008. You know, I don't think we're doing commercial real estate. I think we're going 2008 or worse. But yeah, for residential, I don't totally understand that.
Well, plus it doesn't state how many people are actually taking mortgages on, and the amounts they're taking mortgages out for. Some people are buying houses with cash and not taking a mortgage.
That's true, but I think still, I mean, if you look at the overall picture, though, I doubt so many people are buying cash that it's like, you know. So when you're just like, we're down to like the lowest levels of mortgages since 1996. I mean, at this point, that's actually a long time ago. As horrible as it is to say, since I was a teenager in 96.
Wow.
Yeah, I think one of my employees was not alive yet. Oh no, she told me I was 15. Yeah, she wasn't alive yet. One of my employees was not alive yet. So, because I remember she told me, like, I was born. I was like, oh, I had my learner's permit. Old.
Oldies but goodies.
Yeah, I don't know. It's but so, you know, that's looming, and it's gonna hit, and there's nothing they can do about it. You know, the Fed, they keep begging the Fed, don't raise it again. The Fed goes, well, we can because the employment levels are strong, which, you know, they always have to adjust those numbers. They go, hey, look how strong it is, and the next month they go, adjust it down. And then they adjust it to whatever it really is. And that one doesn't make the headline. It's just the first number. And I mean, I know the Obama administration did it a lot. I'm sure Trump did too. I'm sure W did too. But like, I think Obama's administration really turned it into more of a art or a habit where it's just like, just release numbers that are wrong. And the next month, when no one's watching, you adjust them down. And you go, hey, just kidding. It wasn't that strong. But no one cares at that point. That's old news. You know, and we're talking about what, 2 months ago? Who cares? And so that's going on now. And so when the Fed's like, oh, we got strong employment numbers. The economy is still strong. We got room. We can still inch these. And then they're going to, because they're trying to soften the landing for us. Which of course just means they're going to create new problems. Just got a notification about the inactives for the Tampa Bay Bucks today.
Well, I also think about it, if mortgage rates are that high and home prices are that high, I mean, personally, I'm less inclined to pull a new mortgage at these newer rates. So to me, the debt isn't climbing, or everyone's debt is not climbing.
Right.
You know?
No, for sure. I mean, that part's true. And that's why the mortgage applications are at the lowest rate, is because, you know, if you got a house, you can afford the payment, and you're like, oh, it's time to move to a different house. It's like, well, I mean, over the last 3 years or whatever, like the prices have doubled, you know, at least I know in this neighborhood they have. And so it's like, okay, so we got a 200% price increase, and now the mortgage rate's also doubled. And so it's like, you know, you look at your payment and you just go, you know what? It's just not the time. You know, it's like, I might be able to sell my house for, you know, a gain, and then, you know, lump that to the new one. But like once the mortgage rates have gone up so much, and it's just like, well, now I can't get that same payment. And now I'm either going to be house poor or, you know, just can't afford it at all. And so I think, you know, what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to stay put. I think the companies who purchased with the idea of renting, they'll be fine, because people who are like currently like an apartment level or something like that, or rental house level, who are thinking about like, I don't know, I'm going to save up and get my first house. Or, you know, maybe not first house, but get a house, you know, buy a house. I don't think they're thinking that now. They're thinking, I'll just keep renting and wait till I can afford something, save up, hopefully one day. And so I think those people will be fine, but I think they're, you know, people who buy houses to kind of flip, you know, who require that sale, who, you know, maybe they've purchased a house, maybe they're already 50 grand in for demos or renovations, and maybe they've got a handful of those, 10 of them, I don't know, however many they got, you know, it's their business. Those, I think, we might start seeing some crashes, because that's, you know, those people are not planning on holding a mortgage for 30 years, they probably do the variable rate and try to sell before the bubble or refinance and all that kind of stuff. And if you got, 10 of those, and then you got to refinance, but as low as you can get, 7.5%, something like that. It's just like, that was not the plan. That was not the plan. And you're probably using razor margins to get exactly where you need, And so when that kind of stuff starts happening, like the people who had planned on selling, when they can't, I think that's when things start to crash. That's when values crash because they go bankrupt and people still don't want to buy it, so people might buy it at auction or whatever, and then just values go down. Empty houses in neighborhoods sitting empty for a while, lower the price. So I think that's kind of where we're going. What year? We're 2023. So yeah, I still think maybe 27, 28, but I think that's when we see the real pain. I think the headlines will be made before then. You'll have the news segments where there's people standing around looking like Great Depression or whatever, those sorts of things those will come out before then. But I think 2027 or 2028 will be the bottom, which will be great. It's fine. 5 years. 5 years to my bottom by Barack Obama.
Is that the book title?
Yeah, that was this new biography. Dreams of My Father, whatever the other one was, and 5 years to my bottom. 5 years to my bottom, the Chicago dating scene.
Crack and butts.
Some people like butt cracks. I like cracking butts. All right, there's been some other stuff popping up on all the different corruption things that have happened. One of them was Hunter Biden. He's been under investigation for a while for a number of things, and there's been whistleblowers talking about how, whether it was on the IRS side, they said, well, it just felt like the administration was shutting this down and we weren't supposed to investigate it, And then the administration, no, Hunter Biden, we wouldn't do that. And so there was this investigator for the DOJ named Weiss. And Weiss was like, well, it's David Weiss. And he was a U.S. attorney. And he said that, he said that he was stifled along the way. That he was trying and that he just couldn't get anything moving, And then Merrick Garland, who was the probably not corrupt Attorney General, who definitely wasn't going to be a corrupt Supreme Court justice when he was nominated by old Barry Obama to the butt. Anyway, Merrick Garland came out and was like, no, he's like, I told Weiss he had full control in this thing. Full control to do whatever he needed, get to the bottom of it. This is about justice. This is not about the President of the United States. And so that was what he said. And of course, people are asking Weiss about it. They're asking other people that were in meetings. And they're like, in the meeting, Weiss said he clearly was not in charge. He's like, I don't know. It's not up to me. I'm not making the calls on this one, And so, there's a lot of people going, no, I don't think he was. He didn't. If he was in charge, if he had full autonomy to do exactly as he needed, he sure didn't know about it. And the results didn't seem to paint that way. Well, Heritage Foundation filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit and shared it with the Federalist. That's where I'm reading it from, the Federalist. Maintain Delaware, blah, 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 blah. So basically they got documentation from the Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office, and there's nothing in it memorializing the authority Attorney General Merrick Garland claims to have given U.S. Attorney David Weiss for the Hunter Biden investigation. So here it goes. Yeah, for more than a year, Garland represented to Congress that Weiss had ultimate authority over the Hunter Biden investigation, which the eventual appointment of Weiss as a special counsel contradicted. But now there's more evidence, or rather lack thereof, indicating the claimed authority was always a charade. A charade. Yeah, whatever. So basically, let me see this guy. There's a dude, Mike Howells. He's the director of the Heritage Oversight Project. And he said, the DOJ lives on paper. Anything as important as granting Weiss ultimate authority over an investigation or promising to give authority to bring charges in another venue, if necessary, quote, would have been written down, he explained. So basically, he's just like, it's all on paper. You don't like, no one gets like magic wand. Like, you have authority, Charlie. You know, it's like, congratulations, you are now a magic attorney. Investigate as you see fit. Let us know how it goes. Like, apparently they don't do that. They'll put it on paper. They go, we gave him magic pixie dust powers now. And I guess that doesn't exist anywhere. Like, it doesn't exist anywhere. And it says, while the DOJ withheld some documents from production, claiming various exemptions from FOIA, it's difficult to fathom what FOIA exemption would permit the DOJ to withhold a communication granting Weiss the authority Garland publicly discussed on multiple occasions. When asked why Garland had not memorialized his supposed grant of ultimate authority to Weiss, the DOJ did not respond to the Federalist inquiry. So yeah, the lack of any materials raises more questions about the statements both Garland and Weiss made to Congress as far back as April 26, 2022, but who remembers that long ago? That was forever ago. And whatever, all this is just senators and stuff talking about it. But that's kind of interesting. So they just try to bluff their way through it. We're like, no, he had ultimate authority. And I think at some point Weiss even like changed his tune, where he's like, I mean, yeah, no, I had authority. It's good. Like, it's good. I did. But he didn't. So now it seems like Merrick Garland was, in fact, the guy who could say, no, we're not doing that. I mean, he always was. But now the claims that he didn't, that he wouldn't, that, you know, this operated outside of him was so important. And, you know, just no conflicts of interest. You just have to be on the right path here. That was all nonsense. So it seems to be like another indication that perhaps our DOJ does not run for justice. What do you think of that, old bean?
Surprise, surprise.
I'm drooling. I just missed my lip. Yeah. And it doesn't end there. So, and that's just, so that's Hunter Biden stuff, which of course is money laundering and,
Tax evasion.
Tax evasion, yep, thank you. Foreign influence peddling without being registered as a foreign agent, which, as some investigations continue, Hunter is still claiming that that deal that he struck does exempt him from like everything. And it's just like, I don't know. I think they undid that part, their old Hunty boy, and he's like, nah, I'm good. So I don't know how that's going to shake out. But the other part with the Biden crime family, as I believe they call themselves.
I like that.
I did not pen that. Luckily, they're so corrupt that lots of people have been calling them corrupt. So, Biden crime family. But one of the other things was, all right, when Hunter was with Burisma on the board, obviously he was on the board to make money, but Burisma wanted him on the board in order to make their problems go away. Burisma was founded by a very corrupt oligarch who was getting in a little bit of trouble for going into the cookie jar a little too heavy. And so they're investigating him. And like the European Union and a bunch of other people were just like, damn, Ukraine is corrupt. We need to like rein this in and like make them not so corrupt, which was a problem. And so they started making these moves to try and clean things up. That's one reason the U.S. was involved because, we did the coup. After the coup, we're like, we'll clean this up. I mean, we didn't do a coup. And so we went in there and didn't appoint a president and, didn't run the government for them and, didn't turn them into our puppet and piss off Putin about it. So we didn't do any of that. So as we weren't doing all that kind of stuff, so Hunter's on the board of Burisma getting paid, what was it, $50,000 a month or whatever? Jesus. Yeah, it was a lot. I think it was $50,000 a month. And Burisma was being investigated. And so, after that business dinner where they didn't talk about much business, they talked about the weather and stuff, and they called Joe Biden, and he was like, hey guys, the weather's fine. Y'all have a good day. They go, oh, that was a nice call without talking about any business. Right after that happened, he goes and he says, the prosecutor, Shokin, needs to be fired because he's corrupt. not because he was investigating Burisma for corruption, but because he's corrupt. And even, Biden had that famous thing where he was bragging to everybody on that stage. And like, I told him, I said, you either fire him or the $1 billion in aid isn't coming your way. You can talk to the president if you want. I got full authority on this. And son of a bitch, which is what he said, son of a bitch, wouldn't you know? Next day he's fired. I was like, ha, ha, ha. It's like, it was just so corrupt. Well, this is just the news. Europeans latest to provide evidence undercutting Joe Biden's story about firing Ukrainian prosecutor. Got all these ads. A week after then Vice President Joe Biden began pressuring Ukraine to fire its chief prosecutor in late 2015 by withholding U.S. loan guarantees, the European Union reached internal consensus in a memo saying that prosecutor Viktor Shokin's office and the country at large has met its goals for fighting corruption, organized crime, and human trafficking. The newly revealed memo directly undercuts the narrative crafted by Democrats during Trump's first impeachment. And where'd it go? And sustained during the 2020 blah 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 that he over concerns that he wasn't fighting corruption enough. Anyway, whatever. At the time, Shokin was investigating the activities of energy company Burisma Holdings and Hunter Biden, who had no experience in the energy. Oh, sorry, he was paying $83,333 a month. So. 83 and a third thou per month, if you could survive on that.
You lowballed that one.
I did. I thought I was sure about that. Yeah, I mean, 50 grand was a lot, but no one can survive on 50 grand a month. What are we talking about? Jeez, we got bills. Based on these commitments, the anti-corruption benchmark is deemed to have been achieved. The European Commission, a key governing body of the EU Parliament, declared on December 18, 2015 report that gave a generally rosy assessment of Ukraine's pace of reforms, and specifically the efforts of Shokin's Prosecutor General's office. Yeah, it's a report obtained by New York Post and Just the News noted that Shokin, just a few months on the job, had already established a special national anti-corruption prosecutor's office to aid the newly formed FBI-approved investigative unit called the National Anti-Corruption Bureau. On November 30th, I hate when it jumps because it adds, the general prosecutor appointed the head of the specialized anti-corruption prosecution. The EU report noted, urging Shokin to continue to refine the appointments and safeguard it to ensure the office remained independent and free from influence. So, and they call Shokin's work an important step forward. The progress noted in the fifth report on anti-corruption policies, particularly the legislative and institutional progress, has continued. The EU added that civil society continued to play a key role in moving the anti-corruption agenda forward. So basically, the European Union said, nah, he's been doing a good job. Like, before anything happened, they're just like, man, Shokin's done a good job fighting corruption. Like, this task force is good, working with the FBI on an anti-corruption task force. Like, he's doing a good job. Like, this guy's good. And so then, Biden's like, he's corrupt. And the president's like, no, he's not corrupt. And it's like, he's corrupt. He's like, no. It's like, you want $1 billion? He's like, he's corrupt. That gets rid of him.
I love it. The anti-corruption bureau. Do they call it a bureau? I don't even know.
Yeah, what was it? The Bureau of, yeah. Go ahead.
It's corrupt.
Yeah, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau. Yep, NACB. It was approved by the FBI. The FBI reviewed it, which is, I believe, that's an executive branch. So the FBI, part of the executive branch, led by Barack Obama, and kind of VP'd by Biden. The executive branch said they're good. And then Biden said he's bad. And just like that, investigation went away. Biden stacked that cash. Hunter Biden stacked that cash. Kicked 50 up to pop, according to him. I mean, he said to his niece, I think it's his niece, that, when you get older, you want, you can keep your money. You won't have to be like me and give 50% to pop. And so, that's in one of the texts that was from the laptop. He says 50% of everything he makes has to go to quote unquote pop, which is, shocking. Especially you had that where there's other stuff, 10% for the big guy. And we're like, well, the big guy's clearly Joe Biden. And even when Archer, the business partner, testified on the Hill with everybody, he was like, yeah, no, well, we didn't really talk business. Well, I don't remember if he got any. But other people are just like, yeah, no, he's the big guy. He's 10% to the big guy, But they never really had a good defense of like, they said, oh, we're just selling the illusion of access. They don't have access. It's just the illusion of access. It's like, well, that's also illegal. You're still selling access to the vice president of the United States, whether you accomplish your goal of selling that access or whether you just do the crime and the access is not provided, doesn't really matter, and everything that the Burisma people wanted happened to get accomplished, even though it was never discussed ever. Just magically it worked out. Magically worked out because old Joe took action, the right kind of action for the right kind of people, the American people. His polls, he is sinking in the polls. I don't know what they do, if they just let him keep going or if they bring in Newsom or somebody. I don't know. But like, I think even Nikki Haley, they're polling, different Republican candidates against him. Like, how does, Trump versus Biden look? How DeSantis Biden, all that kind of, everybody's just beating him. Like Nikki Haley's beating him. I think Trump's by like 6 points or however many points. Like everyone's just beating them in the polls so far. So I don't know. It's odd to me. Like between that and like all this, it's just clear corruption. And really, the main defense so far has just been, look at Trump. It's been like, hey, what about this crime? He's like, look at Trump. He's been indicted. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, but and so his crimes are already being looked into. He's going to go to trial for 4 different indictments. So they're going to check him out for all those things you talked about. With some other lawsuits about whatever the hell. Like, it's all being... But as far as your corruption goes, and they just shake. And they just like, nope. Just dodge. It's like, we've never discussed business. We've never been in business together. And it's just like, well, that's a different thing than you said for years, But the Shokin thing, Biden's even started adopting the new kind of talking point that he was just executing U.S. foreign policy. That's all he was doing. That was his job. It was foreign policy, and it was in partnership with DTB. EU was on board as a whole coalition, yada, 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 enacting policy. And it's just like, kind of looks like U.S. policy said they were on the right track. Agree or disagree with throwing a coup and installing a puppet government all you want. But if you want your puppet government to be free of traditional corruption, at least the Russian-based sort of traditional corruption, then, hey, you're succeeding a little bit. Don't you cough during this show.
Let's do it. Oh, man. Sorry about that.
No, we need to... I'm going to rearrange our little volume knobs so we can get our mute buttons going for the cough button. Because sometimes you just got to cough. Oh, what is this? Sorry.
Did I see right? I don't know how recent it was, but Biden just walks out of a ceremony before it's even over with.
Yeah.
Sorry to throw your game off.
No, I didn't pull that one up. But yeah, there was a Medal of Honor ceremony for a Vietnam veteran, very old, out of Tennessee. I think Chattanooga. And so he had won various awards during his time. He was a helicopter pilot. And one thing he did that earned him either this medal or a medal in general is there were some guys on the ground, and they called in for support to basically just light up everything so they could see where the Vietnamese were. And so they came through, and when you do that, you also expose yourself as a pilot. But they came through and they, lit it up. I think they, strafed with some fire and stuff. And at some point, they were out. They had no ammo. They had no anything. But the guys were still kind of pinned down. And so what they ended up doing is flying through and using their spotlight to fake like they were doing a strafe. And so they had no guns. They had nothing to fire. So they just drove, went fast with the spotlight on them. So everyone was just like, get down. They're, that's strafing. And I guess that eventually allowed either the Americans to advance or retreat or whatever, but not die. And so, so there's a ceremony, and old Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. Is up there, and he goes, and he puts a little medal on him, and he's like, show you. And so like the guy, he gets his medal, and Biden just like, he walks off the stage, but he doesn't like sit down in the first row. He just keeps walking. He just walks out the damn door. And like right before the door, there's like a member of the press. It's this younger lady. And but she's sitting there, and even she looks like surprised, like, she's like, what the hell? And like watches him go, and she looks puzzled. She's like, I don't think he's supposed to do that. And so the guy, he just got the medal up there. And so he's like, thank you, the pause, and he's, being humble and all that. And so then they go, we're going to do the, what do they call it? It's a prayer. What do they call it? Is that a benediction? Is that a thing?
No idea.
I don't know. There's some term for it. I forget. That might be it. I forget. Anyway, they're about to do the little prayer thing. And so, you can see that he's kind of silently communicating with someone in the front row. The person's like, just stay there. He's like, okay. So, he bows his head. They do a little prayer thing. Okay. And then, that's it. But yeah, Biden just kind of left the ceremony. Well, it wasn't over. It was close to over. He had nothing else to say, but what you do is you step. There should be a seat probably for you, just right in the front row, or just off to the side. You stand. You can stay on the stage. Just go off to the side and just this guy over here. Come on. You don't leave. Like you very much are not supposed to leave, but screw that guy anyway, right?
Well, I saw in addition to the reporter, Secret Service is like, looks like he's leaving, guys.
I'm gonna have to watch that again and see him. It's like he's on the go. He's on the go. Rabbits on the run. Gray rabbits on the run. Repeat. Imagine him having the code name of anything of a fast animal. I can't imagine what it's like trying to defend that guy. I mean, it's probably easier than like Trump, just because Trump's like, I'm just gonna stop here and talk to people for a while. Like, don't do that. Say, I'm gonna do it. It's like, okay. It's just, I don't know. Trump seems like the type of guy that would just be like, I don't know, walk over there now. They're like, go. Biden, he's not going anywhere quickly. Just tie a pork chop to his belt and have one of the dogs follow him. It's an idea. I'm just saying. I'm not saying I would be the best secret security guy in the world, but I got ideas.
Ice cream.
I like ice cream, Corvettes, cool guy. His little smile. He does that. He always smiles on one side. That's weird. I saw somebody. I think I just saw a headline. I didn't read it, but it was like local plastic surgeon suggests that he's had $50-something thousand worth of plastic surgery. Like, well, his eyes and his, because you see the pictures, like from a vice president to now, and he's just like,
frozen.
Yeah, he's something. And they keep tightening him, like this during his presidency, he's gotten tightened a few times where like you can just see like the shape of his face has changed. Like, obviously cheekbones and stuff are still there. He looks like himself, but it's, they're just squishing all that fat away, and it's weird. Let's see. I'm not gonna go through the entire indictment here, but speaking of Trump, he got indicted on RICO violations in Atlanta, and so the Attorney General of Georgia was just like, well, speaking of RICO, do you remember Cop City when all that stuff was going on in Atlanta?
Yes.
So basically, they were building like a training facility. That's what Cop City was. It's a training facility. It was going to be training for dogs, training for, all the stuff, obstacle courses and crap. It's training facility. And people didn't like it, and I understand, especially if you're, don't want the police to have a training facility. Yeah, I understand to a degree. Cop. if you're gonna have cops, they have to train somewhere, right? I guess you don't. It's like, man, I don't want any tax dollars going to this. This is a lot of money. Okay, I understand. I feel you on that one. But like when I first started hearing about Cop City, I was like, they're doing what? They're gonna do what kind of thing is this? You start reading, you go, oh, it's like a academy. It's like Police Academy. Those movies were hilarious. Like I support Police Academy more than the police themselves, especially if you can do sound effects with your mouth. But so a lot of the cats there, they were living in these woods by this old prison that was run down, and then they'd show up and they'd firebomb and spike strips, and I think some of them shot at a cop, and it was violent opposition. They were really trying to shut it down, with violence. So anyway, the Attorney General of Georgia ended up indicting 61 of them on RICO charges and domestic terrorism charges. And one of the cats, let's see. If you come to our state and shoot a police officer, throw Molotov cocktails at law enforcement, set fire to police vehicles, damage construction equipment, vandalize private homes and businesses, and terrorize their occupants, you can and will be held accountable. We will not waver when it comes to keeping people safe, enforcing the rules of law, and ensuring those who engage in criminal activity are vigorously pursued and aggressively prosecuted. That is what they said. But there's 61 defendants from like Georgia, from Richmond, Massachusetts, Nevada, all over the place, New York. And some of them, one of them works for the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is not all that shocking. They call everybody and their mother a terrorist. They even named, the Libertarian Party got put on the hate watch group because of the Mises Caucus, which I'm not going to bore you with that because no one outside the Libertarian Party actually cares about the Mises Caucus or any of the caucuses of the Libertarian Party. But they basically, people who are more left-wing tend to not like the Mises Caucus because they consider them more right-wing. It's Austrian economics and all. Anyway, I don't think there's a lot to it. I think there's some bad eggs in all groups, there's the New Hampshire Libertarian Party, they get wild with their Twitter, and they say it can be hilarious, but it's also like the state party's like messaging apparatus, and sometimes you don't make Holocaust jokes. Sometimes that's not the best way to win. Be it funny or not, maybe do that on your personal account, not the state party. But their thing, they like to use bold messaging to make a point. For example, if you want to make a good argument against democracy, right? You're like, oh, democracy is great. You might say, well, that's a funny defense of gang rape. This is a thing that, this is kind of the messaging. People go, what? It's like, you got 6 people, 5 of them voted in favor of having sex with you. 1 voted no. Democracy wins. Sex is happening, that's democracy in action. It's, 3 wolves and a sheep. Democracy says the sheep dies, so if you're, if you consider democracy to be more about the masses subjugating people, which it arguably is, which is why when our country was founded, they said we cannot have a democracy here, which is why it's stupid every time someone says we have a democracy, because they literally said democracies are too easy to be abused. We cannot have a democracy. They fail every time. They become corrupt because, you just need 50 plus 1, 50 plus 1. But yeah, these guys, there's messaging like that. So anyway, with the Mises Caucus, there's some cats with some stronger personalities, and they changed some wording in the principles in our docs, because it used to say the Libertarian Party rejects racism and bigotry of all kind or something like that, and so they rewrote it in a way that says the same damn thing really, but they changed it to be more specific, because it was bigotry and prejudice or something like that, like the original, where it was kind of nebulous, and then that kind of where like everyone's a racist sort of thing, where it's like, okay, I mean, like we reject like racism, but like when everything's racist, like we don't want to reject racist, we want to reject actual racism, and so the reality is they made it more specific, but the headlines that were made from people that don't want things kind of people that I hate the term woke, it's just overused and non-specific, but people that are very concerned about pronouns and things like that, more than other things. So people that get very concerned about sort of these personal identity sort of issues. Those people really didn't like changing the words, but to be fair, all those people already were calling everybody in Mises racist, even the black people. So all that to say, Southern Poverty Law Center has this thing called Hate Watch, and so they put the Libertarian Party on Hate Watch as a possible, extremist group, which, go extremists. But yeah, one of their people is now up on charges for domestic terrorism and organized crime. There's a guy that works for the company that like all of Georgia contracts with for license plate scanners and all that kind of stuff. And apparently he would tip off the Antifa and all those cats as to where cameras were currently installed and future cameras are being installed, and that way they could kind of stay off cameras and do stuff. So he kind of helped map it out, which is, that is literally what a RICO kind of charge is for, because it's like telling someone where cameras are isn't a problem in and of itself, but if it's in the name of facilitating, assaults or murder or fire or what have you, like that's what RICO is designed to do. So there's 61 of them, and this is just kind of the first step in the weaponization of our judicial system. I mean, the Trump stuff was the first step. I mean, you can take the Bill Maher perspective that like he did these crimes, and if you do the crimes, you get prosecuted. He did some of the stuff, maybe he'll go to court for it, but like some of the charges require, like we've talked about, they require you to be able to prove that Trump knew he lost and didn't think he got jobbed, which is difficult when for years he takes every moment to talk about how he got cheated and he actually won the most votes and he was cheated and they stole it, and he says it every chance he gets. So I don't know what you're trying to accomplish here. And like, it's like, I remember asking, remember Nick Carlson?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he's editor-in-chief at global editor-in-chief at Business Insider now. And so during while this stuff was going down after the election, he posted something like, if you're Donald Trump, why would you want the presidency? Why would you want to be the guy that had to steal the presidency? Like, why would you want it by stealing it? That doesn't mean people voted for you. And so I replied to him. I was just like, what if he legitimately thinks the election was stolen from him? And he was like, well, then he's an idiot. I was like, okay, well, I mean, it's not the most nuanced point in the world. But it's like, okay. But as far as like legally goes, I think you need something more than that. You can't just go, well, he's stupid, And I don't know. But I think that's kind of the beginning of actual political weaponization. But we're starting to see the next step. So like these are left-wing type activists that are getting brought up on RICO charges. And I think a future DOJ will be less hesitant about going after a Hillary Clinton or a Joe Biden, and they might go hard. I mean, if Trump's got 4 indictments, there's enough to indict both, like all the Bidens, Joe, Hunter, whatever the brother's name is. What's Joe?
No idea.
No, just Joey and Johnny. I don't know. That's something. But because David Biden, that might be it. I don't know for sure. But anyway, they've all been stacking cash. Every one of the Bidens has an LLC that gets cash wired to it. Like JP Morgan Chase was putting up all these things. Like this looks like money laundering. Like J.P. Morgan Chase was sending it to like the DOJ and stuff, and to like internal things. Like, this looks like money laundering. It looks a lot like money laundering. We got a bunch of stuff flagged for money laundering, and DOJ's like, we got it from here. Thanks. So we'll see how that goes. All right, this last one is going to be the most important thing. I'm going to skip over that one thing. This is from our home state, being Flow Riders here. From the Blaze Media. Florida man arrested after trying to travel across Atlantic in human-powered hamster wheel.
I'm so glad you know.
First of all, that's not a crime. Just going to throw that out there. The Coast Guard has arrested a Florida man for attempting to cross the Atlantic Ocean in a, quote, human-powered hamster wheel, according to court documents. Reza Baluchi was 70 miles off the Georgia coastline when officers discovered him during a manifestly unsafe voyage. He was apparently out there while Hurricane Franklin was headed toward the sea, according to the Coast Guard statement on X. The Coast Guard mentioned that the human hamster wheel was afloat as a result of wiring and buoys. The release mentioned that Baluchi was arrested August 28th after a bizarre 3-day standoff with the authorities. He revealed 2 knives. He threatened to cut himself at some point. He said he was going to blow himself up. So then they had to like call the Navy and look to see if there was a bomb. They couldn't find a bomb on him. So they're like, oh, he doesn't have a bomb. He's just got a couple knives. But he told the Coast Guard that he intended to travel to London in his hydropod invention. However, this is apparently not the first time the man has run in with the authorities. In 2014, he was found 70 miles, always 70 miles, off Florida in what has been described as an inflatable bubble in an attempt to run around the Bermuda Triangle. And he's been charged with, who cares? Like, it's obstruction of boarding. Quite frankly, I know it's not international waters. We have to allow you to board. But like, that's not a crime. Obstruction of boarding. It's like, you have to get past my bullets. That's how you get on someone else's ship. We have swashbucklers, old buccaneers, you know. But you gotta swing the ropes over, sword fight, and there'll be cannons. I mean, that's how you board a ship. Let's see. The BBC reported Baluchi was arrested in 2021 after trying to travel on his contraption from Florida to New York, drifting 30 miles south of his departure point. Baluchi claims he was attempting the voyages to raise money for a slew of causes, including Coast Guard, homeless. My goal is not only to raise money for homeless people, raise money for the Coast Guard, raise money for the police department, raise money for the fire department. He said, they are in public service, they do it for safety, and they help people. And whatever, who cares? Vice made a thing about it. But yeah, he had this, like, a bunch of buoys and stuff, and I guess he was a bit of a ultra marathoner or something I saw in a different article. And so he was going to do, like, an ultra marathon across the Atlantic Ocean during hurricane season. And, but he had a couple knives with him, I guess, for
Hunting, maybe?
fighting sharks? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it failed, and you're like, I don't know. Or just probably maybe you got to cut something. Maybe you have to cut it to get out, you know? I don't know. But, like, the idea of, like, ultra marathoning across the Atlantic Ocean, like, okay, I'm down. Let the guy go. Like, what's the crime?
That's what I'm trying to wonder. What was he doing wrong?
I think the words that they use there, the unsafe voyage, the whatever the hell unsafe voyage, I think it's like their duty to say, like, you know, if they come across like a sailboat and the mast is broken and all that kind of stuff, then they can tow them in. I can help you out. And you go, no. It's like, public, we're going to tow you in, you know? So I think they kind of use that. But it's like, I don't know. If the dude starts like wielding knives and be like, please let me keep running in my hamster wheel. Like, just let him go. Is he going to die? Yeah, probably. But he might not. And if he doesn't, that's amazing, right?
Well, yeah, like, let's just use taxpayer money and get a drone out there to follow him and just see what happens. Like, I'll support it.
I mean, I think there'd be enough interest in it. I mean, Vice did a documentary. I'm not use taxpayer money, but surely there's somebody with a ship somewhere that's interested enough in being like, let's see how this lunatic goes, you know? Because at some point, he's either going to make it, hopefully not starve to death or sweat to death, but he'll probably be eaten by something. And don't we want to see what eats him? I do. I want to know if it's going to be a whale, if it's a big old shark, maybe yeah, maybe he just starts taking on water somewhere, and I don't know what happens. Maybe the Kraken comes out. I don't know.
That'd be great.
It would be great. They're like, well, we got bad news and we got worse news. Bad news, old Bellucci died like we all pretty much assumed he would. Also, sea monsters are real and the Kraken might destroy all of society. Signed, the Coast Guard. And that would be the value of such explorations, you know? Like all these maps, like on my carpet here. They used to draw little monsters on there. I think there's a Kraken right here, my sea map carpet. Now we don't see them anymore. It's because we're not looking. It's not looking. You know, old Navy boy Jimmy, he's been out to sea, and I think he's hiding stuff. I think he's hiding things. I think they saw Krakens and aliens smoking crack with Barack Obama. I think Barack Obama flew out to an aircraft carrier to smoke crack with aliens and have gay sex, which is not that gay because they're aliens, so it's different. It's a theory.
I love how you tied everything together.
You like that? It's because I'm a professional, Charlie. All right, well, with that, we're just going to probably call it. Everybody like, subscribe, do the things. I need to get better. We need to get better about getting things posted on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. But it's on the YouTubes, it's on the Rumbles, it's on the Spotifys and the iTunes. Just like it and subscribe and tell your friends and all that kind of stuff, you know. So for this week, I'm Frank, and Charlie says...
Crack and butts.
Yeah, crack kills people. Crack kills butts. That's it.